Hello my friends, LaRuffa here with another straight up solo, and in this episode we are going to take a look at the solo mode for Daybreak. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play a full round here so you get a feel for what it plays like with a solo player. And the other thing is that this is a co-op game, so you could play it multi-handed if you wanted to change things up a little bit and add some more. But we're just going to show the one-handed solo mode as it is in this game. All right, let's get started. Okay, folks, as usual, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. If you have, I really do appreciate that support. Thank you so much. Please keep it coming. All right, so I am into the third round, basically halfway through the game. We're about to start the halfway through point. If you can't finish the game by the end of the sixth round, then you lose. And to finish the game, to win, you basically have to get to a point where you are sequestering more carbon out here than you're generating over here. That's called the drawdown, and as long as you survive the last set of bad situations that happen in that round, you'll win the game. Now, right here you see basically my energy demand, which is 13. I'm way behind right now, and I took a couple crisis tokens to do that. But I did that because I wanted to cut out a bunch of dirty power. You start with a lot of dirty power. In this case, I think it's 6 in solo mode. You start with 6, okay? So I cut a bunch of that last round, but now I've got to make up for it. Only problem is that I don't have a ton of ways to do it. Just like real life, huh? So anyway, I'm going to try to get some more projects to enhance that at this moment. So right here on the board, you kind of see where we are with regards to the crisis levels. One way you can lose the game is if this temperature thermometer fills all the way up to the top, you will lose at the end of that round. You can also lose if you fill up your crisis, your community crisis is too much and you can't put another one down there, then you'll lose the game there too. And I already said you do lose here if you end up not getting the job done in 6 rounds. So the game itself is pretty straightforward with regards to play. What you're going to be doing is basically resolving some things until it's time for you to take your turns. And when you're taking your turns, you're playing your cards in 3 different ways. Either you're tucking your cards behind these 5 stacks, which you will have at the beginning of the game. You'll have some starting actions. You could tuck the cards behind them for the symbols, and the symbols will make the front action stronger. You can play your card on top of one of those cards, and that would basically wipe that action away from you, but replace it with a different action. Or you can discard the card to fuel some of these actions. Like for instance, this one, if I discard a card, I would make 1 clean energy per number of these power line high tension wire icons behind this card. Some of these require certain other things, like this one requires you to have 2 cooperation tokens someplace out here. And this one says you can only do it once per turn, so you can only do that once per turn, and you can mark it however you want it, the way you want. They say put a little carbon cube on there to help you remember what you're doing. This card here helps me draw extra cards throughout the game, or at least in the beginning of the draw step. But that can be also subtracted here from the situation which we have where I've got some community crisis going on. So the easiest way, I think, is for me to narrate a full turn and let you see what this looks like. Okay, so we begin by adding crisis cards. So I look over here, and my current crisis level is 3 cards. So I have the first one face up. This will let me know what's coming, okay? Energy crisis. Well, that's no joke. It says that every player adds 1 community crisis per temperature band. It is reduced by 1 if you have infrastructure projects. However, I have a special global project that I previously funded last time that lets me ignore a card that's reduced by this if I want, okay? I can only do it once, but that's good. So that allows me to potentially not worry about that, okay? The other thing I could do is I could try to build up more resilience over here in the infrastructure by playing cards into here. But I don't have a real strong way to do that at the moment. Then I have to draw 2 other cards which I can't see. So you're only ever allowed, maximum at least, unless you get some other effects in play, and I don't know if they exist or not, to see just this 1 card, okay? All right, so we've added those crisis cards. Now we're going to start the global projects. What that really means is that I'm going to choose 2 of these, I'm going to draw 2 projects and choose 1 to put out here. So these are my 2 projects. I can decide to do this once per round. 1 player may ignore effects of 1 crisis card with that. Ooh, that's good actually, because that means I really have some flexibility. Or this one, I could ignore 1 desertification dice roll each round. So that's also not bad, but I haven't rolled a lot of those, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. Now, in order for that to work, I've got to tuck one of those, what are they called? Regulation cards, which I may or may not get under there, but if I do, that's 3 categories of these bad situations that I can really ignore. And these things really stack up real fast. So mitigating those is a key part of the game. So I've done that. Now I'm going to draw my 5 cards plus 1 because I have this card in play, minus 1 because of the crisis situation. So it's just 5 cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then these are the local projects which I can play with this turn. This game basically comes down, I shouldn't say comes down, but it's a big part of it. The more cards you have, the more stuff you can get done per turn. So you want to have as many of these as you can to get things moving. All right, so we've got those out here. Now it is time to play any actions, like I said. And that's the idea of the 3 different ways that you can do things in any order. So the first order of business I have to do is deal with getting some more of my clean energy plants. Unfortunately, and this is really too bad, I did not draw a single one of these infrastructure cards that is going to help me with this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do this R&D, solar R&D, and maybe I'll get lucky to get what I need. It says draw 8 cards and keep any that have the tag for the solar power or the ideas. So I'm going to put this here to mark that I've done it. I'm going to draw 8 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I'm going to see which ones I can keep. Nope, 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 yes, no, 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 no. Well, that didn't help very well. At least it was 1. And this would be good if I had 3 tree cards someplace in play. Well, I'm gonna get some more out there, so that might not be a bad thing. We'll see how it goes. Now, my biggest problem is that I'm gonna basically just come like right front to losing the game if I can't produce more. So I've either got to figure out how to get some better situations, or I'm gonna spend most of my cards this turn just jacking up my energy. I may even want, let's see. So this could help me reduce my carbon. And this is important. You have to reduce your carbon in order to win the game. There's no doubt about it. And right now, I've got to get it below 8. Well, I'm at 14. So that's a long way away. So this is important. This would be important too, except it would help me, but I'm going to be gaining more energy demand, which I can't really deal with. There's another solar R&D. So you do get some duplicate cards in this game, which I get it because there's a lot of cards. You get it, but that's a little bit of a bummer. I mean, I don't love duplicate cards, but it is what it is. So you can have them in play. You can, I think you can have duplicate cards in play. I don't remember. You know what? Don't quote me on that. I'd have to look at it, but I'm not going to put this in play anyway from a duplication standpoint. I will decide to tuck this to draw more cards next turn because that will bump me up to +2 over there. But I think the problem I'm going to have is I went too aggressive on pulling out that extra power. I shouldn't have done that in the previous one. So what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to cut this card out. So you could, even though I played over it, I can cut this out by putting this down here and adding to it. Now I'm going to be able to discard a card to draw 3 and keep 1. Again, I'm just fishing for stuff. I definitely don't need this at the moment. So I'm going to discard this in order to draw 3 and keep 1. 1, 2, 3. All right, well, that's good. At least I got something per these symbols, but unfortunately, I don't have a lot of those symbols. Oh, I do. I have one over there. Interesting. So that is going to be tough because what I'm going to have to sacrifice to accomplish this is I'm going to have to lose all of this stack of stuff that would get me extra cards to draw. But I'm either going to win or lose if I don't do something. So, I mean, that's silly. That's the silliest thing. But I need to do something. I'm going to need to do something drastic. So I'm going to play this card down here. And what it's allowing me to do is get +1 clean energy per nuclear symbol looking symbol here. And that's what this is. And so there's not very many of those. There's only 5% of them in the deck. So that at least I can do right now and get a better conversion. Now I put these down. I shouldn't have put these down because I was only able to keep 1. So these go away. Well, necessity is going to have to prevail. So I can do this as many times as I want. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to discard these 3 cards right now to build the 3 clean energy I need for a total of 5. So it's going to get closer, but not close enough. And as you can see, poor choices, maybe from a government entity, can leave you flat-footed. So we got a community crisis right now because I cannot meet my power demand. So in that regard, I'm out of cards, so I can't play anything else. I can't do any other actions because these are all activated by discarding cards. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to check demand. Well, 2 of those. Brownouts, blackouts, whatever happens, that's not good. So we got more community crises happening here because the initiative to get rid of bad power wasn't dealt with enough in a more responsible way fast enough, and I didn't get my demand. So I do like in that regard that there are some realistic things in this game. You get a little bit overzealous, you could have some problems, okay? So you got to balance that. All right. Now, I have to then, after I've checked demand, add carbon to recent emissions. So I have 14 carbon to add, all right? So this is going to be 14. They give you these little convenient blocks of 5. I'll take one out, that's 14. Then I'm going to sequester the carbon. So my 4 trees and my 4 oceans will dissolve 8 of these, or sequester them, I guess you could say. And then I have to add the rest to the temperature thermometer. Well, that's going to be 10 total because there's already 2 out there. And that means 2 more temperature bands, which is not good. So now I'm at a level of 5 crisis dies and 4 cards. So I have to add another crisis to this situation here, okay? So the first thing we do is I've got to roll this die 5 times. This die is going to increase all the other things that are going on the board. So first, we've got the loss of Arctic sea ice. So it's going to add 2 to the thermometer per player because we reach the tipping point there. So that's 2. That's 1 roll. Here's second roll. Nothing yet. Third roll. Okay. Ocean acidification, nothing yet. 4th roll, nothing. And 5th roll. Okay, a tipping point here. So it says 1 carbon to this area per player and lose a tree, which I really don't need. So that's really punitive. Because now, in order to win, I got to get below 7. I have 7 or below. It's not easy. You can grow trees with local projects and such, but you hope that card comes up. Okay, so we've done that. Now, we have to resolve the crisis cards. So this one, again, reduced here by these infrastructure tokens. I have this card in play. Oh, shoot, I forgot to activate that. It doesn't matter because I needed to do my best to deal with crisis management. It should matter. I should have found a way to do that. But I could ignore this. Now let's see this one. It says, per player adds 1 community crisis per temperature band. This would cancel this card out. Okay, so I don't have to do that. Now, food insecurities. I don't have any more of these. That's done. So I have to reduce by this number here per temperature band. Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means I reduce it by 1. That means I have to add 4 to here. That's not good. Probably not going to make it. 1, 2, 3, and 4. If I have to add 1, let's see. If I have to have 2 more of these, I lose the game. Last card. Okay, it says the player with the lowest social resilience, which is me by default, loses 1 for every 2 communities in crisis they have. Well, the good news is I can't lose any more. I just lose it. So luckily I didn't lose the game right at that moment, but I'm going to have to do something about this. I'm going to try to clean up these areas here if at all possible. Otherwise, it's too late. So check for victory. Well, we just said I don't have victory because I didn't get into a drawdown because I produced way more carbon than I could actually sequester. So I'm going to advance this round marker to 4, and then I have to increase the demand for energy by 2 because that's just the way the world works. So as I start my next round, I'm 4 in the hole on power. I'm really warmed up here, which is no good. I'm at the brink of global crisis over here. And as you can see, things are really hitting the fan. So, kind of what you'd expect if you go too aggressive in reducing some of these things. So what I should have done was I should have probably balanced the load out. I shouldn't have cut so much in that second round on the getting rid of the fossil fuel power. And I should have probably metered that expectations with cutting some of these other things and providing a future plan. Interesting. All right, so that is a full turn. So I'm going to do the whole thing again. Chances are I'm not going to recover from this and it's going to be too late, but we'll leave that to myself to discover, and we'll see what happens. I think this gives you a pretty good understanding of what the game's about. You're doing a lot of top decking of cards. There's no doubt about it. You are trying to strengthen your actions over here, and you're trying to make sure that you do your best to not take too many bold moves that would doom you, but also, keep the necessity in mind of keeping things under control. All right. There also are a bunch of cards you can add to make the game a little bit easier if you need to, or a little bit harder if you need to. And I think, as I've heard from reviews, as you play this game, you all of a sudden kind of figure out at some point which kind of the way to do it and to win. And then you start adding those other things in play to make it more difficult. You can also play multi-handed. Although that would require a lot of table space, it could definitely be done. And that's pretty much the story. So let me tell you what I think about it. So Daybreak is one of those cooperative puzzly games, very similar in feel to a lot of cooperative games where the game is kind of working up the pressure and you need to deal with it. And it's a race to try to achieve that victory condition before it's too late and before the game closes in on you and takes you down. So we've been there, we've done that. That's nothing new. This game, what I think is good about the game, I'll put it this way, is I do like solving puzzles with card play and trying to put together cards with different action icons. That's not new either. I just I like that mechanic. I like trying to get some really strong actions. And I do like how you can flip actions from one type to another by playing over the specific stack of cards to change it up. I think that's neat. The rest of the game is it's been there, done that, right? But I do think it was a good thing that the designer tried to incorporate realistic things into this, and it wasn't just a complete fantasy of all these like futuristic technologies that don't work. And they put some QR codes that link to things, some education, and I do appreciate that, right? I think that it's, we're all facing the situation one way or another, whether you believe it or not. It's probably a situation that we can all relate to in some level, okay? So I do like that about the game. I like realistic themes. They don't always have to be in space or some magic fantasy kingdom. The gameplay itself isn't ridiculously deep by any means. It's a more approachable game. I think that's what they were going for. And I don't mind that either, because this is a kind of puzzle that I like to play based on the card interactions and other things. But I don't think you're going to get anything new, novel, or surprising here. There's not going to be like some major twists where people do like, oh, I didn't see that coming or whatever. Oh, I mean, it all kind of keeps it pretty close to the vest. So if you got a lot of games like this and you don't particularly love one of these mechanics or another, this is probably not the game for you. But I do like the ideas of the card play. I do like the mechanics of the card play. And that's why I'm enjoying playing the game. And I also would like to get a little better at it so that I don't do stupid things, doom myself, and then be struggling to counteract those poor changes of policy. And maybe, just maybe, I'm not going to get into soapbox here, but some people, when playing this game, would see that, yeah, you can be too aggressive. You've got to control lots of things. Aggressive moves are important at the right time, but if you take them in the wrong way, you might have a major crisis on your hands. So again, I'm not trying to be preachy. It's just I do appreciate that fact about this game. You've got to read into that, all right? And that's good too, all right? We all need to be good stewards of what we're doing. I forget about all that. Anyway, the game itself is enjoyable. It's fun to play. It's not revolutionary. decide whether you want to be a part of that or not. I've already talked to you about my thoughts on the components and such in my unboxing videos. I think the gimmicky part of the game being completely sustainable components is kind of ridiculous. I don't throw my games out, as you can tell. Either I sell them or I keep them, one way or the other, but they don't happen. I'm not just gonna throw things in the trash. Maybe eventually people do, but I want my components to last. That's the point. So these little token things that are basically made out of containers that people use to, take home food. Come on. I understand maybe you had to do that because of the theme or whatever, but don't give me a container then. I guess I could have just gotten that, but they didn't want to put any plastic that they didn't need to in the bag, and I guess I get it. Although I do find it kind of ironic that I surrounded all the sustainable components with plastic protection, but that's just me. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate everybody. Whatever you decide to do in the future, I really hope you have a fantastic time doing it. Take it easy.